So when labor begins, the most important thing is to practice your relaxation and make sure that you're ready for labor, because you tend to get really stressed out and get nervous and fidgety. And so that's a time where you would do like head to toe touch relaxation. And I don't know if they showed you that or not, but that's like a hand over hand motion on down your arms, down your legs, rubbing gently your forehead and the sides of your face, and just making sure that you're not clenching your jaw, that your shoulders are relaxed. And then when you feel like you're completely relaxed, that's when you would begin your deep breathing. So deep breathing starts with a cleansing breath or a hello breath, which is a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. And then you do a goodbye breath at the end. You want to practice this so that you're able to not feel lightheaded or tingly when you do it. And what makes you feel that way is if you don't have an even exchange of air. So that's why in my head I always count in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. The other thing is that you're going to automatically speed up in labor, so it's all right to practice it a little bit slower than you would when you're actually in labor. So the deep breathing you would use in the beginning when you're first going into labor, just to get you relaxed, and then you would begin to use it during contractions when you feel like the contraction is uncomfortable or you're starting to feel just tight and tense, and you want to just get your body to relax and accept the contraction. So you're going to use that basically through early labor. And so when you get to be around 5 or 6 centimeters, you're going to go into active labor. The first part of labor, it's actually all first stage, but when it's just contractions every 5 to 10 minutes apart, basically, that's early labor. That's when you're doing your deep breathing. And then active, sorry, it's late and I'm tired.
No, you're fine. I can stop for a second.
Active labor is when your contractions are lasting more like 30 to 60 or 70 seconds, and they're closer together. So true labor, your contractions keep growing stronger and closer together. The length of them is really not as big of a deal. They always tell you, come when your contractions are 5 minutes apart or something like that. But since I recorded all my contractions with many of my labors, and because I had big babies, it's harder for the uterus to contract and for the muscles to go around. And so I had contractions, some were 3 minutes apart, some were 5, some were 10, some were 8. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you realize that your contractions are growing stronger and you're having more of them. Okay, so the second breathing pattern, and again with this, you always want to change position, go to the bathroom, before you change your breathing pattern, change your position, go to the bathroom, get a drink, and see if it isn't just that you're awkward and uncomfortable from having been in the same spot so much. You don't really ever want to stay in the same spot for any length of time. And going to the bathroom is critical because you've got to keep your bladder empty, because your contractions are going to hurt a whole lot more if your bladder is full. And as you know, it doesn't take much pee to make your bladder feel full when you're pregnant, especially in labor. So the next breathing pattern that you're going to move on to is what we call the Hout breathing pattern. And this, instead of being deeper, like the deep breathing, it's a high chest breathing, and you want to keep the air in your chest so it's not going too deep, because you want to keep your abdomen as still as you can so the contractions can do their work and you're not irritating it by breathing deeply. So the high chest breathing, you begin again, if you have time, with cleansing breath. So it would look like this. So this, you want to practice your Hout breathing for at least 45 to 60 seconds, because that's how long the contractions will be, or longer when you're doing that breathing. And then this is a crash course. There's a lot of things I'm leaving out, and we can talk about more of that if we have time, but these are your basics. Okay, so the next breathing pattern would be used during transition. So it reaches a point where your contractions are 60 to 90 seconds in length, and they're a half a minute to a minute apart. So obviously they're one right on top of the other. And with that kind of contraction, you don't have time to take your cleansing breath or your greeting breath. So you basically add that breath to the end of your breathing because your body needs to let go and relax. But you begin with the Hout breathing right away, because that contraction is going to start at the peak instead of building up to the peak. So that would look like this. And it's the same breathing, it just has a breath at the end. So here's the Hout blow. Hout. 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 Okay, so the one thing I should have mentioned, in the beginning with your deep breathing and early contractions, it's fine to have your eyes open, or it's fine to have your eyes closed. But by the time you get to your Hout breathing and your Hout blow, it's very important that your eyes are open and that they're on a fixed point. It can be anything from a freckle on Zach's face to something on your arm or on the bed or anything like that, fingernail, diamond ring, whatever it is. But it needs to be small enough so that you can actually really focus on a small point, because you really need to concentrate and focus and keep in control instead of just letting go and losing it. And it's okay if you do that, because that's why you have people with you to help bring you back in again and get you focused and back on track. So you have the deep breathing, the hout breathing, and the hout blow. When it comes to pushing, I'm going to show you a little thing about that too. Yeah. So we talked about that a little bit. So this would be what it looked like if you're going to have that lull where you have no contractions at all for a few minutes, and you've been in this heavy transition, and then all of a sudden it's just quiet, and you're like, whoa, what is this all about? Is my labor over? Yeah, and you'll fall asleep because you're exhausted, and I always think that's okay. You just have to, have somebody there with you to make sure that you wake up before contractions. That will happen, obviously, as you know, in transition too. But by the time your pushing comes, and pushing is intense too. Some people say it feels good. Other people say it's the worst part. You won't know until you get there. And the thing about pushing is you can't really practice it. You have to use your first urges to push as a means of just being really focused and figuring out what your body is doing and practicing what you want to do. So you want all of those muscles that are on your perineal floor to be used, but you don't really want any of your other muscles to be used. You don't want to clench your fists, you don't want to tighten your arms, you don't want to tighten your legs or clench your jaw. You just want to completely relax and use those muscles to bear down, hold it there, bear down, hold it there, bear down, hold it there. And you can almost do that right now, just like using the muscles in your abs, but concentrating on your pelvic floor and not really pushing, but you can get the idea of where those muscles are. And it's the muscles, like Rachel said, when you do your Kegels, those are the muscles you're using. So now I'm going to show you what it would look like if I'm now all of a sudden having the urge to push. So I'm going to blow off the pushes as long as I can and then bear down with the urge and only with the urge. I know I'm a little too realistic, but I've done it a few times.
You're making me remember it like so clearly.
But the thing of it is, it really is amazing when you push correctly and you don't waste energy. It really, really works. And just remember, you don't want to pull the baby back in. You want to just keep it coming, keep it coming. Yeah. So I guess that's about it for our short crash course. And I'll send some more tips as I think about it, and call me if you have any questions.